Are you ready to talk about the world's second largest, biggest frog? World's largest, second biggest frog. Obviously, I'm not ready, but let's start it off with 3 questions. Question 1: are you ready for a pet that's basically a live-action version of Pac-Man, just always consuming? Question 2: have you seen Love and Monsters? Because that is what these guys reminds me of. That frog scene. I'll post it right here. It's beautiful. And for the 3rd question, this seems to shock the most people when I talk about these frogs with people. The fact that they get so big, the size of a dinner plate. Are you ready for that? Look at these guys. Look how beautifully round they get. They're just so plump, and it's just beautiful. How can you hate that? The male African bullfrog, they can get up to over 4 pounds. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a big-ass frog. 4 pounds and 9 inches wide, man, that thing is girthy. Just girthy. That's a weird way to say it. Let's talk about their diet, I guess. Just straight into it. My bad. In the wild, these guys realistically will consume anything that they think they consume. They're not the smartest, right? They'll eat their own family. They don't really care. Like, everything's up for grabs for these guys. If it moves, it's food. Shout out to my little frog in that video. God, he's beautiful. Stunning little dude. It's funny. I enjoy him. It makes me a little happy. Keep in mind, you just want to give them like a nice variety of a diet, right? Crickets, mealworms, superworms, small mice, or chicks, right? With the small mice, you kind of want to be careful with them because they're a little bit more fatty, right? So you don't want them to eat too many mice because it'll just make them fat, right? So the small mice is more of like a treat. People do feed them live, especially the bigger ones. I've fed my small little dude just like pinky mice, and he'll just consume it. He doesn't care. Just do a little zombie dance with it, and he'll eat that gummy worm. When it comes to feeding these guys, they're definitely fun to watch just because of their awkward size and their awkward movements. And when they chase down their food, it's just really amusing. They're just like little basketballs bouncing around. When it comes to feeding these guys, like most younger animals, you want to feed them a little bit more often, especially since they're going through that growing phase. These guys, the younger guys under 6 months, you want to feed them every day, every other day. Just give them a nice few treats, right? You don't want to give them too many because you don't want to overfeed them. It's better to slightly underfeed them than overfeed them because you don't want them getting fat. These guys can easily get fat because they're lazy. With frogs, typically you want to keep them with a nice clean water bowl because they absorb the water through their skin. So you don't want any chemicals in those waters because it can be harmful to these little guys. When it comes to cleaning and maintenance for these guys, you want to do what you do with pretty much every single animal out there. You want to do your daily checks, check their water, remove any uneaten food, right? Get rid of anything dead in there. You don't need to keep that stuff in there. You definitely want to make sure you're cleaning the substrate with these guys because they absorb stuff through their skin. So if they have a bunch of stuff in their substrate that's not good for them, there's a good chance they could absorb that. And, well, the last thing you want is your animal to die. When it comes to handling these guys, you don't want to overhandle them. It's going to stress them out, right? They're just solitary creatures. They just want to be left alone, which, I mean, relatable. I want to be left alone too. A lot of people like to wear gloves when they handle these guys because, like I said earlier, they absorb stuff through their skin. If you have chemicals or lotions or oils on your hands, they're just going to absorb that, and that's the last thing you want. With most animals out there, they don't like fast movements. So if you want to just try to go slow, they still might freak out. It is what it is. Just try to keep it cool and calm with them. When it comes to lighting, you're going to want a 12-hour cycle. I mean, you can split that up a little bit if you really want to. It's going to make a huge difference. And the nice thing is these guys don't require UVB. Sure, UVB, it does have beneficial things to it, but it's not required for these guys. Personally, my pixie frog spends pretty much all his time buried. I don't see him unless he thinks he's about to get fed. Then he's out and about and he's ready to go. That dude looks like a little sumo wrestler. Like, he's just ready to pounce. I'm not really big in the YouTube world, but I'm pretty sure this is the point where I tell you to subscribe. Could be wrong. Like I was saying during the lighting, my pixie frog spends all the time buried, right? You want to give them enough where they can bury themselves, right? Depending on the size of your pixie frog, that's really going to vary. I don't need that much because my little dude's not that big. I give him a few inches, he's satisfied, and dude just sits there and he just waits. It's cute. He's always just waiting for food to go by. That's all he does. It's just wait. I haven't tried the hollow log yet. I mean, that'd probably be pretty cool. I should try that. I'm gonna go buy a hollow log now. I didn't even think about that until just now. When it comes to decorations, these guys really don't need anything fancy. I mean, you could probably put live plants in there, and the live plant will probably be fine since they don't move. I mean, they might dig it up, but that's whatever. I mean, you just rebury it. Find something tough like a pothos if it's safe. That's the key word. If it's safe, you want to make sure your live plants are safe because you don't want them absorbing it into their skin. Also, just make sure to avoid sharp objects. Their skin looks really soft, right? Sharp objects, soft skin, not a good mix. You know, you don't want to slice and dice your little dude. It's not going to look as cute when that happens. And if you do put something big and heavy in there, just make sure they can't get underneath it, because the last thing you want them to do is wedge themselves under something really heavy and not be able to get out. With high humidity, you're going to want good ventilation. You don't want that just to get all stale in there and gross, and it's just going to build up bacteria and mold and all that stuff that you don't want in there. Depending on your setup, there's a lot of ways to add ventilation. It really just depends on your setup, so there's a lot of factors into that. Screen lids make it really easy. Or if you're using PVC, drill some holes. I mean, it's not too complicated. I added the fighting just for my own amusement because I found that one picture and it just looks absolutely hilarious watching these little dudes fight. But yeah, obviously you can't keep them together, struggle. The males will fight because, well, I mean, they only do like 3 things: hide, breed, and eat. So fighting is going to be part of that. So I guess that's 4. Girl math, let me struggle. Here we go. If you stuck to the end, you're welcome for a terrible video. I'll just keep trying until they get better.